this is StyleSeekr Roundtable, and today we're with Tara, and Tara is an artist. She's also a photographer and a videographer, fine artist. We have Ivan, who is a fashion designer and a photographer. We have Zach. Zach is multi-talented, as many creatives are multidisciplinary. He's a fashion designer. He works with leather. He's made leather bags. We've actually worked on a company together called House of Sussex, and now StyleSeekr. He does digital art. He does social media. We'd go on forever. This would be all about Zach, but he does everything. He's made this fabulous jacket, hand sewn. So again, multi-talented. I'm Susie Coelho. I'm a lifestyle expert and have done television and many other things, and it's not about me. Okay, Rebecca. Rebecca, I've known for many years, and she is a phenomenal food stylist, but not just a food stylist. She's a chef, she's an artist, but she has an amazing sensibility of not just food styling, but the way she curates an event. She does a lot of spa retreats, and they're all curated, again, not just with food, but with style. So let's start with Rebecca. I want to ask you about style. When you're doing these spa events, you get hired for these really cool things where you get to bring together women or men or groups. And what is it that you actually do? Because you started off as a food stylist, and now you're doing these sort of overall styling the whole event.
Yeah, it's you wear many hats in this creative industry, you really do. Sometimes it's a production where you are fully kind of creative directing it, or sometimes you are simply just doing something so simple like bringing just the food. You know, it really varies, but I think having the multiple avenues and all that experience of doing retreats, doing editorial things, doing commercials, all of that together really helps me be a really broad umbrella stylist. I can just see all the details. It's really the details and being super organized.
Yeah, well, I love the fact that you have really brought up a main point that I started mentioning about creatives being multidisciplinary. Tara, can you talk a little bit about that? Because you've worn so many hats in fashion, in art, in dance, in writing, in music. So talk a little bit about how does a creative promote themselves if they do so many things? It's like, who are you?
That's a really interesting question. I think, honestly, for me, I've been so lucky that I've had such a great support and network that people can find out about me through my network and through my friends. A lot of the contacts and jobs are usually from other people, but as far as I think obviously having your own aura and sense of style and showing who you are and dressing a certain way also brings people in and allows for that, I guess, curiosity and connection with people. As far as wearing different hats, I think you kind of have to. If you're someone who's creative, I think you're also a curious person, and therefore I get really obsessive over certain things, and that's why I've kind of dove into many things. I started off wanting to be a filmmaker, and that led me to fine art, and then led me to styling because I have a sense of form. So yeah.
Ivan, I'd like to ask you, how do you introduce yourself?
Well, it's a good question. Most people comes to me for how I'm dressed because I'm trying to dress then I can explain or make feeling on the people. So that's part of me, but I think I'm excellent with my eyes. So I'm a photographer, I'm designer, and it's how I'm doing. And most people are very interested on that. And it's it's a good feeling because I can see how bright the people, how I can see how beautiful she is. I can see the talent that you have, how the camera love you. So that's part of my skills, see the bright of the people, and I can make my job better.
Oh yeah, that's a great skill to be able to see. It really is talking a bit about identity, right, Zach? To see how do you see who a creative is? Because with StyleSeekr, we're trying to showcase people's identity, and we're trying to figure out how people want to see themselves. What do you think about what Ivan said about that?
Well, I think that the creative's unique point of view is everything. And, you know, like we were talking about last night at dinner, it's their superpower. And depending on how far you are along in your career, you may not know exactly what your superpower is, but it's the thing that's guiding you along your way. And then once you discover that, once you discover your style DNA, it unlocks everything.
Right. I've had time to build various careers. And to this point that we're talking about identity, when I first started out as a model in New York with Ford's, then I decided, because that wasn't going very well, because I was ethnic, and being ethnic at the time was not the cool thing to be. So my identity was sort of, I didn't know what my identity was, because I looked from India, even though I may not look typically Indian. My parents are both from India. And it was a blonde-haired, blue-eyed society, and I didn't really fit into the magazine covers that I wanted to be on at that time. Now it's very different.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, now diversity is popular, it's phenomenal. People are working with people from all around the world. It's a global world, so things have changed. And through the years, what I was going to point out is that I constantly I didn't know who I was before as a creative. I just went from one thing to the other that seemed like the next possible thing that I could make money at, or that I was good at. And I started to build a repertoire of skills. Then when I started my lifestyle company, I'm like, who am I? Wait, I was in the home business, I was in the garden business, I was in the fashion business, I was in this business. Well, I'm a lifestyle expert. All of a sudden those skills come together with time, and you can package those skills to then create what I did, a multimedia lifestyle company, or now StyleSeekr. We've got fashion and art and all that. We've worked in all those fields. How does that work for creatives, let's say, Rebecca, who are students just coming out of school? How should they be thinking about this?
I have
In
to
decades or?
time,
Yeah.
like you said, I totally agree with you. And I just think you brought to mind when I was in school, I was in music before I ever fell into food, and I call it falling into food, really. And I won the most outstanding style award as a musician. I was writing music at the time. And it's funny because at that time I wasn't trying to be a stylist. I really wasn't trying to do anything. I thought people didn't like my music because it was different.
Right.
It was more made for TV and film. So I was always hiding, nope, people don't want to hear my stuff. And it's so funny years later looking back, I'm like, isn't that funny? That's a through line.
Right.
And it's so important to know that, like, just do what feels good to you.
I love that.
In the
I love
moment.
that.
Yeah.
In the moment. So I have
Yeah.
to bring this up, that when I had my son, I had to lay down for 5 months. He's now 35 years old, but I had to lay down because the baby was coming early. I was feeling great, but then after he went to school 3.5 years later, I'm sitting around. I'd been working my whole life, and I'm thinking, what am I going to do? Meaning, what work? I'm not a model. I'm too old. I'm not an actress. I didn't really work well. I didn't have a really successful career as an actress in my mind. Can't do this. I can't do that. What am I going to do? And I called a bunch of my closest friends, almost like we're talking here today, and I said, what do you think is the essence? And now I'm thinking, we talk about identity. So what would you see me as?
Yeah.
What is it that you guys think is valuable about what I produce? Just like she had style. People came back and said, style. That's why I want you to come to help me with my pillows in my living room. That's why I want you to help me with this and that. So that is really key, Rebecca, is that people have a superpower. Sometimes they don't know what it is. And it's not necessarily the thing that they go to try to get a job for. They happen to be fabulous at setting up tables and doing styling, but they would never think that that's a job.
Right.
They happen to be incredible at a certain kind of art or something they do for the family. They would never think of it as a job. They're great with fashion, but they think, I can't get in fashion.
Yeah.
But they're always putting together stuff, and people are noticing them for their style, but they don't think they're stylists.
Yeah.
People are blind to like their aura and what they're good at. Everyone around them can see it, but people are so self-conscious and be like, okay, well, it's not perfect, but it's not about being perfect.
No,
it's about
not
being who
creativity
you
anyway.
are.
Yeah.
And create all the time and keep going in that line.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the most important things.
Yeah, in fact, on my TV show, Surprise Gardener, my first HGTV show, I used to sign off at the end of the show, keep creating, that's the joy of life. And it really is true, and Ivan said it perfectly. constantly creating, constantly putting yourself out there, constantly trying new things. We just did the table. We just cut the flowers. We didn't know if there should be high or low. We didn't know what they were going to look like till we did it. And then we go, that looks fine. That looks pretty.
Yeah.
You know, you buy, look at this beautiful thing you put together. You said, I don't know how I'm going to use the berries.
No.
And then you just decide to mix them with the cherries.
Trust yourself. That's the thing. Don't lose sleep over it. It's going to come together. It's
Right.
going to, like, if that's the knowing yourself
Yeah.
through and through, or like Ivan said, just being able to see the beauty. It's something, it's guttural. It's instinctual. It's like,
The more you make, the more you trust yourself, and the more you trust your eye.
Right.
And I think that's something that's not really like thought about or valued, is the process of like cutting the flowers and like, is it going to be right? You just have to start making it,
Right.
and then then you start to have a relationship with the thing that you're making, and the thing that you're making is going to give you feedback, and the feedback that you feel from that thing is going to get you closer to where you need to go as well. That's kind of like your North Star when you are making.
Yeah, and looking at reviewing it, and if you don't like it, then cut the things shorter, or move them to group them together in a different vase. I mean, I'm just talking about the
Yeah.
flowers, but there's always some way to rework. When you're doing fashion, you go, I don't like the way that looks. The pant didn't fit. No, I'm not going to scrap it, or start again, or let's do the belt different, or whether it's fashion, whether it's art.
You just
I
have to
think
keep
artists-
going.
a dish.
A dish. How
Yeah.
many artists actually cover over their? I've seen it before. They paint and then
Yeah.
they cover over the thing.
Yeah.
And like with food, how does that work?
Oh, it's I think it's fun to have a menu. It's so helpful, but then after that, it becomes a riff. You go to the store and then you see an ingredient that's so beautiful. These cherries were in season. I really didn't even
Plan for
think about cherries until I saw them, and I said I have to have those, and that works with my color palette, and it works. It's just like fashion, I think.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today in Hollywood, California. We're actually here in Los Feliz for StyleSeekr Roundtable.